The planet Aurora 7 hung in the blackness of space like a jewel dusted with green and silver. Its skies were a swirl of pale blue storms and shimmering auroras, which gave the colony below a strange, beautiful light. This was humanity's newest frontier, a place where survival demanded ingenuity, courage, and the stubbornness that humans carried in their bones. Commander Jace Riven walked through the colony's main streets, boots crunching on metal plates that lined the surface. Aurora 7 wasn't large, but it was growing fast. Domes of translucent material connected by winding corridors housed the settlers, scientists, and miners who called it home. Ships occasionally streaked across the horizon, leaving silvery trails against the twin moons. Jace's mind, however, was not on the beauty or the bustle. His thoughts lingered on the message he had received earlier that morning. It was short and simple, yet it sent a strange shiver down his spine. "Meet me at the old observation deck. There's something we need to talk about." The sender was Lyra Solen. Lyra, the name carried weight Jace hadn't realized he still felt. She had been his best friend when they were children, playing among the rocks and the early settlement's abandoned tunnels. They had grown up under the harsh sun and howling winds of Aurora 7, learning to survive when there was no one else to rely on but each other. And somewhere in those dusty days, Jace had made a vow. He had been 9. They had been caught in a sudden storm that tore across the plains outside the early colony. Mud clung to their boots, their clothes were soaked, and every rock seemed sharper than it should have been. Jace had taken her small hand in his and said, with childish certainty, "When we grow up, I will marry you." They had laughed at the absurdity of it when the sun finally returned. But laughter had not erased the memory of that moment. Now, 10 years later, he didn't know if it mattered. People changed. Time changed everything. And yet, the thought of seeing Lyra again made his chest tighten in ways he hadn't expected. The observation deck was a simple structure on the edge of the colony, elevated on stilts and open to the sky. From there, one could see the entire northern basin of Aurora 7, the jagged cliffs, and the vast plains where strange, alien plants had begun to take root. Jace arrived just as the pale blue storms began to light up the horizon with streaks of color. Lyra was already there, leaning on the rail, looking out over the world they had grown up in together. She turned at his approach, and her smile, quiet, knowing, and full of warmth, made him feel as though no time had passed at all. "Jace," she said softly. Her voice carried the same calm certainty it had when they were kids. "You came." "I always come," he said, trying to sound casual, but the words felt heavier than usual. They stood side by side for a moment, looking out at the distant mountains. The silence between them was comfortable, filled with shared memories, rather than awkwardness. Then, with a small laugh, Lyra spoke again. "When we were kids, you vowed to marry me." Jace felt his pulse quicken. He had expected a lot of things today, technical briefings, new orders, maybe even a surprise inspection from the council, but he had not expected this. Not here, not now, and certainly not in such a quiet, unexpected way. He looked at her, studying her face. The years had shaped her differently than the harsh winds had shaped him. Her hair, the color of dark copper in Aurora 7's light, framed her face in a way that made her eyes shine brighter than the twin moons. She had grown taller, more confident, but there was still the same spark, the spark that had made a 9-year-old boy promise something foolishly permanent. He swallowed and asked the question he had avoided thinking about for years. "Is that vow still alive?" Lyra's smile softened, and for a long moment, she didn't answer. The wind whipped around them, carrying the scent of metal, dust, and the faint tang of alien flora. It was a smell Jace knew well. A smell that reminded him of survival, of challenges faced and overcome. Before she could reply, a sharp alarm echoed across the colony. Red lights began flashing on the observation deck. Jace's instincts kicked in immediately. He was a commander, trained to react, to protect, to solve problems. "What is it?" he asked. Lyra's fingers flew across a small tablet she held, her expression tense. "Sensors are picking up an anomaly near the Quill Rift," she said. It's moving. Jace's mind switched from old vows to new dangers. The Quill Rift was a massive chasm that cut across Aurora 7's northern region. It had always been unstable, a place humans avoided for fear of sudden storms or landslides. But movement in the rift meant something else entirely. Something alive. Alive? He asked. Yes, Lyra said, her voice steady but urgent. Not local wildlife. Something different. Something alien. Jace felt the familiar thrill of danger surge through him. Humanity had survived countless threats not just from nature, but from the unexpected challenges of space. And now, standing at the edge of the colony with Lyra by his side, he knew they were about to face something new. He gritted his teeth. Then we go. The journey to the rift was not long, but it was treacherous. The ground shifted unpredictably, and the faint light of the aurora above made shadows dance in strange ways. Jace led the way, weapon at the ready, while Lyra kept her tablet active, tracking every movement. As they approached the edge of the rift, they saw the first signs of something truly extraordinary. Strange structures, metallic, but not human-made, rose from the cracks in the ground. They were delicate, almost like crystalline trees, glowing with an inner light. And moving among them were creatures unlike anything Jace had ever seen. The beings were tall, their forms shimmering as if made of liquid metal. Their eyes, if they had eyes, glowed faintly with intelligence. They did not attack immediately. Instead, they observed, studying the humans with what felt like curiosity. Jace took a deep breath. Humanity had faced many unknowns before, and every time, they had found a way to survive, to thrive, to win. Stay close, he said to Lyra. She nodded. We will, she said. And for a brief, fleeting moment, he remembered the vow again, not as a childish promise, but as a reminder of why humans endured, because they cared, because they connected, because even in the vast emptiness of space, some things were worth fighting for. The alien beings shifted suddenly, as if responding to some unseen signal. A soft hum filled the air, vibrating through the ground and into their bones. Lyra's eyes widened. They're communicating, she whispered. But it's not language. Not like ours. Jace clenched his fists. Then we'll listen. As they stood at the edge of the rift, watching these alien creatures move and interact, Jace realized something profound. The universe was vast, full of dangers and mysteries, but humanity had something no other species seemed to possess: courage, ingenuity, and the stubborn refusal to give up. And perhaps, he thought, a vow made long ago, kept in the heart, was another form of that courage. For the first time in years, he looked at Lyra and smiled. We'll figure this out, he said. She returned the smile, her hand brushing against his briefly. We always do. And as the strange hum of the aliens filled the air, Jace knew that the adventure ahead would test them in ways they had never imagined. But humanity had survived worse. Humanity would survive this, and perhaps, just perhaps, some promises made under a storm on a faraway planet could survive as well. The hum grew louder. The lights of the crystalline structures pulsed, and the rift, once a silent scar across Aurora 7, now whispered of challenges to come, of mysteries to unravel, and of a future where humans might, once again, prove themselves unstoppable. The Quill Rift was larger than Jace had imagined. From the colony's observation deck, it looked like a deep scar across the northern plains, jagged and silent. Now, standing at its edge, he realized its true scale. The chasm stretched far into the horizon, its walls lined with alien crystals that pulsed softly, as if alive. Lyra stood beside him, tablet in hand, her brow furrowed. I've never seen anything like this, she whispered. Her voice carried awe, but beneath it, worry. They're not just structures. They're part of a network, a hive maybe, something organized, something intelligent. Jace's jaw tightened. Then we need to be careful. One wrong move, and we could be walking into a trap. The creatures had not attacked yet. They hovered around the crystalline towers, scanning the humans. Their metallic forms shimmered in the pale light, elegant and alien. And their eyes, or what looked like eyes, glowed with an otherworldly intelligence. Lyra pointed to the tablet. Sensors show energy readings. It's unlike anything in our database. Not chemical, not biological. I don't know. Maybe psionic? Psionic? Jace repeated, raising an eyebrow. Thoughts. Energy. Communication without words, Lyra explained. If this is true, they may sense us in ways we can't imagine. Jace felt a shiver run down his spine. But he didn't let it show. Fear was normal. Panic was not. Humanity had survived countless worlds, strange creatures, and deadly environments. They had always adapted. And that was exactly what he planned to do. Stay close, he said, gripping his plasma rifle. No sudden movements. We observe first. Act second. The two humans crept along the edge of the rift. Every step felt fragile, the ground uneven and slick. Tiny crystal shards protruded from the earth, glinting like sharp teeth. As they moved, the creatures watched, almost as if curious rather than hostile. Look at the way they move, Lyra whispered. They're not aggressive. Not yet. But they are learning. Studying us, Jace nodded. Then, we have to be smarter than they are. Hours passed as they observed the creatures, taking careful notes and recording energy readings. It was difficult to tell what the aliens were thinking or planning. Their movements were deliberate, rhythmic, almost like a dance. Suddenly, one of the crystalline towers emitted a sharp, bright pulse. The ground trembled slightly, and Jace instinctively held Lyra back. A wave of sound, low and vibrating, rolled over them. It wasn't audible in the usual sense. It resonated in their bones, in their minds. Lyra's eyes widened. They're communicating, she said. It's not just energy. It's thought. Patterns. They're talking to each other. About us. Jace's mind raced. If the aliens were thinking collectively, if they could communicate like this, then any attack would be coordinated and precise. Humanity couldn't hope to match raw power. They had to rely on ingenuity, on cleverness, on courage. He looked at Lyra. We need to report this to the colony command. They need to understand what we're dealing with. I've already sent a short transmission, she said. But their response will take time. If the creatures move fast. Jace didn't finish the sentence. He didn't need to. They both knew what it meant. Time could be the difference between survival and disaster. They decided to move closer to one of the towers. Carefully, silently, they approached the glowing structure. The light bathed their faces in a pale blue glow, and the crystal surfaces reflected strange, fractured images of themselves. This is incredible, Lyra murmured, reaching out with a gloved hand. I've never felt energy like this. It's alive. Jace studied the tower. Alive or not, we can't touch it. It may trigger a reaction we don't understand. As they watched, the creatures themselves began to interact with the tower. Thin, liquid metal appendages extended from their bodies, merging with the crystalline structures. The energy readings on Lyra's tablet spiked. They're linked, she said, her voice tense. The towers and the creatures. It's one system. If one part reacts, the whole hive reacts. Jace clenched his fists. Humanity had faced hive-minded species before, dangerous. Yes, but predictable. This was different. This was fast, intelligent, and utterly alien. But if humans had learned anything over centuries of exploration, it was that the unknown could be overcome with courage and clever thinking. A sudden tremor shook the ground. Dust and small crystal shards fell around them. Jace grabbed Lyra's arm. Move. They backed away as a part of the crystalline tower detached and hovered in the air. The alien drone seemed to react, converging around it. The pulsing lights increased, the hum intensifying into a deep, resonant vibration. They're aware of us, Lyra shouted, struggling to stay balanced on the uneven terrain. Jace scanned the horizon. The rift walls were unstable. Any misstep could send them tumbling into the abyss. Yet retreat wasn't an option, not completely. They needed to understand these beings. To survive, they had to learn how the aliens thought, how they communicated, and most importantly, how humans could outsmart them. Jace turned to Lyra. We need a plan. Something bold. Something they won't expect. Her eyes gleamed with determination. Humans are unpredictable. That's our strength. We can use it. He nodded. That unpredictability had saved humanity countless times. Ingenuity, emotion, and stubbornness traits no other species seemed to value, or even understand, could become their weapons. The creatures moved closer to them, and Jace felt a surge of adrenaline. His heart pounded, but not in fear. In excitement. Humanity thrived on challenges. Every obstacle was an opportunity to prove themselves. To grow stronger. To survive where others might fail. Suddenly, one of the drones emitted a series of pulses, faster and more intense than before. Lyra's tablet interpreted it as a pattern, a message, perhaps a warning. They're trying to communicate with us, she said, almost breathless. I think they're testing us. Jace gritted his teeth. Then we answer. Carefully. But we answer. He raised a hand, signaling Lyra to stop. He remembered what his instructors had always drilled into him during simulations. When faced with the unknown, do not panic. Assess. Adapt. Act. Let's show them we're not just survivors, he said quietly. Let's show them what humans are capable of. They approached the hovering crystal cautiously. Jace extended his hand, holding a small, reflective panel he had carried for scanning. He projected a soft light toward the structure, trying to create a form of contact. The drone paused, almost as if studying the gesture. Then, in an astonishingly coordinated motion, the other drones mirrored the movement, creating a pattern that seemed deliberate. They understand gestures, Lyra exclaimed. It's not language, but it's something we can respond to. Jace's mind raced. This was it. The first point of contact. Humanity didn't always win through brute force. Often, they won through understanding, adaptability, and courage. The ground trembled again. Dust rose in clouds, and a deep vibration resonated through the rift. The drones formed a circle around them, their glowing eyes fixed. Jace felt the weight of the moment. One wrong move, and it could end here. But one clever move, and humanity could make its first true impression on an alien intelligence. He looked at Lyra. Her eyes held the same trust and determination they had shared as children, facing storms together. He remembered the vow, the childish promise he had made. It was no longer about marriage or play. It was about keeping a promise to humanity itself, to protect, to endure, to survive. Ready? He asked. Lyra nodded, placing a hand over his. Always. Together, they took a careful step forward. The alien drones tilted, their lights pulsing brighter. The humming rose into a resonant symphony that vibrated in their chests. And for the first time, the humans realized something profound. The aliens were not just observing, they were learning. And that was a mistake. Humans were unpredictable. Humans were brave. Humans adapted. Jace and Lyra would show the aliens that, no matter how advanced or strange they were, humanity was not to be underestimated. The rift was alive with energy, mystery, and danger. But standing there, united and determined, the humans felt an unshakable truth settle in their hearts. The galaxy had never truly seen what humans could do, and it was about to. The Quill Rift was alive with movement. Alien drones, their metallic forms shimmering like liquid silver, swarmed around the crystalline towers. Each pulse of light seemed to carry thought, as if the hive itself was observing, analyzing, and deciding. Jace and Lyra stood at the edge of the abyss, their hearts racing, knowing that one wrong step could mean disaster. This is it, Jace whispered. We make our move now, or we retreat and lose the advantage. Lyra nodded, her eyes fixed on the drones. "We can't just run. They'll follow. We have to show them what humans can do." The humans had faced countless challenges before, but this was unlike anything they had encountered. The drones were not just intelligent, they were connected. Each movement of one affected the others. Each thought was shared instantly. Yet, despite the overwhelming odds, Jace felt a spark of confidence. Humanity had survived worse. They had adapted to worlds no one else could colonize. They had endured storms, disease, and the void of space itself. And they had never given up. Jace and Lyra moved carefully forward, taking small, deliberate steps. The ground beneath their feet was uneven, but their training held them steady. The drones seemed to recognize their caution, slowing their approach, as if curious rather than aggressive. Lyra's tablet beeped urgently. "They're analyzing our gestures, our energy patterns. They're trying to predict what we'll do next." Jace clenched his fists. That was the moment. Humanity had always thrived in situations others found impossible because humans were unpredictable. They could think outside patterns. They could act on instinct, emotion, and creativity in ways no other species could. He whispered, "Time to remind them who they're dealing with." Reaching into his pack, Jace pulled out a small device, a portable signal generator designed to project light patterns and energy pulses in precise sequences. It wasn't meant as a weapon, but as a communication tool. Today, it could serve another purpose. "Follow my lead," he said to Lyra. "We'll show them humans aren't just brains. We have courage and heart." He activated the device, sending a series of pulsing lights toward the drones. The patterns were irregular, unpredictable, almost chaotic. The drones paused, their own lights flickering as if confused. Lyra quickly mirrored the pulses, improvising patterns on her tablet. The hive hesitated. For the first time, it seemed to consider the humans, rather than simply analyzing them. Jace felt a surge of hope. They can learn, but they can't anticipate everything humans do. Suddenly, one of the drones detached from the swarm and hovered closer. Its metallic surface reflected the aurora above, making it seem larger than it really was. Jace held his ground, raising his hand in a gesture of peace. Lyra's voice trembled slightly, but she spoke with determination. "It's testing us. One-on-one. This is our chance to connect." Jace nodded. He took a slow, deliberate step forward, projecting a calm energy with his posture. His hands open. The drone tilted its form, scanning him. Then, unexpectedly, it extended a thin metallic appendage, mirroring Jace's gesture. Lyra's eyes widened. "It understands gestures. It's learning from us." The humans exchanged a glance, a mix of fear and exhilaration. This was a first contact unlike any humanity had experienced. They weren't negotiating with words, they were negotiating with presence, courage, and ingenuity. But even as hope rose, danger was never far. A tremor shook the ground. Crystal shards rained down, and the drone suddenly emitted a piercing pulse. Lyra yelped, but Jace grabbed her arm. "Stay with me." The pulse wasn't meant to harm, they could feel that, but it disrupted the energy around them, causing the smaller drones to scatter. Jace quickly adjusted the signal generator, sending a counterpulse that stabilized the field. "They're testing our limits," he said. "They want to see how far we'll go." Lyra's fingers flew across her tablet. "I think I can communicate something human. They may not understand language, but they respond to emotion, intent, energy. We can show them why humans fight, why humans survive." Jace nodded. "Then do it." Lyra connected her neural interface to the tablet, a risky procedure designed for experimental communication with alien signals. She concentrated, projecting memories, emotions, and patterns that defined humanity. Courage in the face of fear, loyalty to friends and family, determination against impossible odds. The air vibrated. The drones paused mid-flight. Their lights pulsed in response. Faster, irregular, almost chaotic. They weren't attacking, they were absorbing, learning, Trying to comprehend the surge of human intent, Jace felt a deep pride. Humanity had always been underestimated. Their small colony on Aurora 7 had survived storms, alien environments, and equipment failures that would have doomed any other species. And now, facing beings far more advanced and alien than anything in history, they refused to be ignored. The largest drone shifted suddenly, moving toward them with deliberate motion. Its lights pulsed brightly. Jace and Lyra held their ground. For a long moment, it hovered before them, seeming to study their presence. Then, in a startling display, it replicated the human gesture they had offered. Hands open. Calm posture. Confident energy, Lyra gasped. "It's mirroring us. It's learning empathy," Jace smiled. That single moment felt like victory. Not a victory of force, but of understanding. Humanity didn't always win by strength. Sometimes, they won by connection, by showing the universe that even the smallest, most fragile humans could hold courage and heart beyond measure. Suddenly, a pulse from the hive rattled the ground violently. Smaller drones swarmed in formation, creating a protective barrier around the larger drone. The humans realized they weren't done yet. The hive was intelligent, coordinated, and wary. Jace took a deep breath. "We need to push further. Show them humans can adapt faster than they expect." He instructed Lyra to send a sequence of energy pulses combined with recorded images. Children surviving storms, humans helping each other, humans standing firm against overwhelming odds. It wasn't language. It wasn't a threat. It was humanity alive, resilient, brave. The drones paused. Their lights flickered rapidly, then slowed. For the first time, a pattern emerged in their pulses, a response. Not aggression. Not retreat. Something else. Understanding. A form of acknowledgement. Jace and Lyra exchanged relieved looks. They had survived the first test. Humanity had made a mark on the alien hive, proving that even in the face of an unknown and superior intelligence, courage, creativity, and heart could not be ignored. But Jace knew this was only the beginning. The hive would adapt, it would learn, and humanity would have to continue pushing boundaries, using every tool at their disposal. Mind, body, and spirit. Lyra glanced at him, exhaustion and exhilaration in her eyes. Do you think they understand why we fight?" Jace shook his head slowly. "Not yet. But they'll learn. And when they do, humanity will be ready." A final tremor shook the ground. Dust and crystal shards fell around them, but they remained standing. For the first time, the humans felt the rift itself was acknowledging their presence, testing them, challenging them but not defeating them. Jace looked at Lyra, a small smile playing on his lips. "We did it," he said. "They may be alien. They may be advanced, but they underestimated one thing. Humans." She smiled back. "We always survive. We always find a way." And as the twin moons of Aurora 7 cast pale light across the rift, the two humans stood together, facing an alien intelligence unlike anything the galaxy had seen before. They had proven something vital. Humanity could endure. Humanity could adapt. And humanity, no matter how small or underestimated, could leave a mark on the universe. The alien hive pulsed again, slower this time, almost respectfully, almost thoughtfully. Jace felt it deep in his chest. This was only the beginning of a war of intentions. A test of understanding. And in the heart of that test, humanity had already shown its first victory. Together, they stepped back from the edge of the rift, knowing the battle was far from over. But for the first time, they believed it was a battle humanity could win not with brute force, but with courage, cleverness, and an unbreakable spirit. And somewhere deep inside, Jace felt that childhood vow long forgotten, but never truly gone. Remind him why humans fought, why humans survived, and why they could inspire even the most alien of intelligences. The rift hummed, alive and waiting, and humanity was ready. The night on Aurora 7 was quiet. But the rift hummed with a restless energy. From the colony, the alien drones appeared as flickering lights, almost beautiful against the dark sky. Yet Jace and Lyra knew better. They had seen the intelligence behind those lights, the coordination, the analysis. Every movement the humans had made, the hive had studied. Every gesture, every pulse of energy they remembered. "We can't just wait," Jace said, pacing. His voice was calm but urgent. "We've reached the first level of understanding. Now we have to go further." Lyra nodded, tapping rapidly on her tablet. "I've been analyzing the data. They respond to gestures, energy patterns, even emotional impulses. But I think we can do more. Something bold. Something human." "What do you mean?" Jace asked. "I mean," she said, taking a deep breath, "that we can transmit emotion directly into the hive's network. They may not understand language, but they can respond to energy patterns. If we encode our memories, our feelings, our courage, our loyalty, they might feel what humans feel." Jace's eyes widened. "That's dangerous. We've never tried it before. Neural interfacing with a psionic alien network? One misstep, and I know," Lyra interrupted. "But we don't have another choice. If we want to survive, if we want them to respect humans rather than destroy us, this is it." He studied her, seeing the determination in her eyes. Humanity had always relied on boldness in the face of danger. That boldness had built colonies on planets others abandoned, had survived storms that should have wiped out entire settlements, and had outsmarted predators and rivals alike. "All right," Jace said finally. "Let's do it. But we do it together." They returned to the colony lab, a small, reinforced dome filled with scientific equipment and survival gear. Lyra's neural interface was ready. Delicate, experimental, and extremely risky. It had been designed for human-to-human communication experiments, but she had adapted it for the alien network. Jace watched as Lyra adjusted the settings, her hands moving with precision and care. "I've calibrated the interface to amplify emotion patterns," she explained. "I'll project memories of courage, survival, and loyalty. The hive won't understand words, but it will recognize the energy." "And me?" Jace asked. "You'll need to synchronize with me," she said. "Together, we can make the projection stronger. Double the impact." He nodded, feeling the weight of responsibility settle on his shoulders. Humanity's survival might depend on this moment, on the two of them, on their ability to show the aliens what humans truly were. They sat across from each other, connecting the neural interface to their helmets. The lab was quiet, except for the faint hum of energy equipment and the distant vibration from the rift. Jace could feel his heartbeat quicken. Not from fear, but from focus. "Ready?" Lyra asked. "Always," he replied. The interface activated, and a strange, warm energy flowed into their minds. Lyra began projecting memories. The first was simple. A memory from their childhood, of standing in the middle of a storm, mud caking their boots, the wind threatening to knock them down. Jace had held her hand, and together they had laughed at the absurdity of surviving such chaos. The memory radiated through the interface, translating into energy patterns the drones could sense. The hum from the rift changed, as if the hive paused to absorb this new information. "Good," Lyra murmured. "They're responding." Jace added his own memories, moments of human ingenuity, survival, and courage. Repairing broken equipment in a raging dust storm, rescuing stranded colonists, facing danger with only wit and instinct. Each memory was a pulse of human spirit, a thread of emotion woven into the alien network. The drones moved differently now. They no longer hovered cautiously. Their lights pulsed faster, irregularly, almost excitedly. The hive was processing, learning, feeling something it had never experienced. The human will to survive, the stubborn courage, the loyalty that tied one human to another. Lyra concentrated, pushing further. She sent a memory of Jace and herself as children, laughing and promising to face life's dangers together. The moment was simple, yet powerful, and the energy from it flowed through the network. Jace felt a surge of emotion. "They're reacting," he said, almost in awe. "I can feel it. They're connecting to it." The largest drone from the hive approached, hovering directly in front of them. Its lights pulsed in a rhythm that seemed to match the emotions they were projecting. For the first time, it was more than observation. The hive was responding. Lyra's hands flew over the tablet, interpreting the feedback. They don't understand in words, but they know. They sense the strength, the courage, the connection. They're impressed. Or maybe respecting us. Jace exhaled, feeling a mix of relief and exhilaration. Humanity had always relied on more than technology or weapons. They had heart, they had creativity, they had stubbornness. And now, against an alien hive far more advanced than anything humans had encountered, those traits were proving powerful. Suddenly, the rift trembled violently. The smaller drones swarmed around them, defensive, but the energy from Jace and Lyra's projection held the hive's attention. The drones seemed conflicted, torn between aggression and curiosity. "This is it," Lyra whispered. "The test. If they can feel, they'll hesitate." Jace nodded. He added another layer of memory. The human instinct to protect, the bond between people, and the promise he had made long ago as a child to stand by her, to protect, to endure. Not just a vow of love, but a vow of courage, loyalty, and survival. The pulse of human emotions surged outward, filling the rift with waves of energy that resonated through the crystalline towers. The drones froze in place, their lights bright and steady. For a moment, everything was silent except for the vibration of the hive itself. Then, slowly, the largest drone tilted forward in what could only be interpreted as acknowledgement. The smaller drones followed suit, forming a protective formation around it. There was no attack, no hostility, just observation and recognition. Lyra exhaled, her body trembling with relief. "It worked," she said softly. "They feel us. They understand, in their own way." Jace placed a hand on her shoulder, a gesture of solidarity and shared triumph. "Humanity doesn't always win by force," he said. "We win because we endure, because we care, because we refuse to give up." The alien hive pulsed once, a slow, deliberate rhythm that seemed almost respectful. It wasn't just a victory, it was a beginning. The humans had made the first true connection, showing that courage, loyalty, and heart could speak across species, across understanding, and across the galaxy. Lyra smiled, a mixture of exhaustion and joy. This is what humans do. We survive. We connect. We adapt. And we never give up. Even when the odds are impossible. Jace nodded. And we always will. They disconnected from the neural interface, leaning back, breathing heavily but smiling. Outside the lab, the drones had retreated slightly, hovering above the rift, but no longer threatening. The hive had learned something new. Humanity was not just another species. Humanity was clever, courageous, and stubborn in ways no alien could predict. The colony, unaware of the depth of the connection, carried on with its daily routines. But Jace and Lyra knew that the future had changed. The hive was no longer just a threat. It was an entity that had felt humanity, and in doing so, had gained respect. "This is only the beginning," Jace said quietly. "They'll adapt. They'll test us again. But now we have a chance." Lyra nodded, looking out at the rift. The crystalline towers glowed faintly, responding to the energy that had passed through them. A chance to show them what humans are, and to prove that even the smallest, most fragile species can be powerful when they fight together. Jace smiled, thinking of the vow. Long forgotten yet never truly gone. Not the childish promise of love, but the promise of courage, of standing together, of never giving up. Humanity had survived storms, alien worlds, and impossible odds. And now, standing on the edge of the Quill Rift, they had proven that the human spirit could shine across the galaxy, even in the face of the unknown. The alien hive pulsed slowly, almost thoughtfully, and the humans realized it had accepted them, not as threats, not as prey, but as equals, as beings whose heart and courage demanded recognition. For the first time in history, humans and the hive shared understanding and unspoken respect born of bravery, intelligence, and determination. And Jace knew, deep down, that no matter what came next, humanity would not only survive, it would thrive. The rift hummed in quiet acknowledgement, and the two humans stood together, ready for the challenges ahead, ready to face the unknown, and ready to show the galaxy the true strength of humanity. Aurora 7 was quiet in the early light, the twin moons fading as pale sunbeams stretched across the plains. The Quill Rift still pulsed softly, its crystalline towers glowing faintly as if alive. But there was a new rhythm now, one that seemed to harmonize with the colony, the humans, and the strange alien drones that hovered above. The hive had learned, adapted, and most importantly, respected humanity. Commander Jace Riven and Lyra Solen stood at the edge of the rift, gazing at the shimmering expanse. The memory of their neural interface projection the moment they had shared their human spirit with the hive was still vivid. Their efforts had worked. The aliens now understood something no other species had ever managed to convey. Humans were not simply physical beings driven by survival or instinct. Humans fought, endured, and connected through courage, loyalty, and emotion. They're different now, Lyra said softly. Her fingers brushed over the tablet that had guided the projection. They understand us. Not perfectly, but enough. Enough to know we're worth respecting. Far, Jace nodded, but his mind was already racing ahead. The hive's understanding didn't mean peace would last forever. They were intelligent, adaptive, and unpredictable, but humanity had never backed down from a challenge. They had survived storms, alien worlds, and hostile species through ingenuity, heart, and stubbornness. And now, they had made their mark on an intelligence far older and more advanced than themselves. Do you think this changes anything? Jace asked quietly. It changes everything, Lyra said. We've shown them humans are clever, adaptable, and courageous. That kind of respect, it lasts. Jace's gaze drifted to the distant colony, where life went on unaware of the breakthrough that had just occurred. He thought of all the settlers, the children playing near the outer domes, the miners repairing equipment in dust storms, the scientists charting alien flora. They had all survived against impossible odds. Humanity was alive, not because of brute strength, but because they never gave up. And in that thought, Jace remembered the vow he had made long ago, as a child, in the middle of a storm. He had promised Lyra something he hadn't fully understood at the time. It had been childish, naive, and yet somehow meaningful. He had vowed to protect her, to face dangers together, to endure no matter what. That promise had carried him through countless challenges, and now, standing on the edge of the rift, he realized it had never truly been broken. Lyra turned to him, her dark eyes reflecting the pulsing light of the rift. You remember, she said softly. Jace smiled, the weight of years and battles lifting slightly. I never forgot, he admitted. Not for a single moment. She stepped closer. Then, the vow is still alive? He took a deep breath. Yes, alive, and stronger than ever. Not because of words, but because of everything we've done. Because humanity never gives up, and neither do I. Lyra's smile widened, a mixture of relief and joy. For a brief moment, the trials of the past, the dangers they had faced, and the vast unknown of the galaxy seemed to fade. Here, at the edge of the rift, there was only trust, courage, and a bond forged in shared struggle. But there was no time to linger. The alien hive was still alive, still learning. Jace knew they would test humanity again. The question was not whether they could survive, it was whether they could thrive. as humans always did. He turned his attention back to the rift. The drones were hovering in formation now, their crystalline forms catching the light like a million tiny stars. Lyra's tablet buzzed with energy readings. "They're observing, but they're calm," she said. "They've changed. They're cautious, but not hostile." "Cautious is good," Jace replied. "It means they respect our presence." For the first time, the humans could see the hive not as a threat, but as a challenge they had met with ingenuity and courage. Humanity had faced creatures far stronger, worlds far harsher, and situations far more dire. And yet, they had endured. They had thrived. They had adapted. Lyra studied the largest drone, the one that had mirrored their gestures during the projection. "It's responding to us individually now," she said. "It's almost aware. Not like us, but learning our patterns." Jace nodded. "Exactly. And we'll use that. Not to dominate, but to show that humans are worth more than fear, worth more than destruction. We've done this before. On every planet, every colony. We survive. We adapt. We teach. We endure." They spent hours observing the hive, learning its patterns, and planning their next steps. The alien intelligence was formidable, but it was not invincible. Humanity had a strength that no alien species had yet encountered. Unpredictability, driven by courage, loyalty, and the willingness to fight for what mattered. Lyra looked at him again, her voice soft. "Do you think they'll ever fully understand us?" Jace thought for a moment. Maybe not fully, maybe never. But they've learned enough to respect humans. That's all that matters. Respect is the first step to coexistence. And humanity will always find a way to coexist, or to survive, if we can't. As the sun began to rise over Aurora 7, the rift glowed like molten silver in the early light. Jace and Lyra knew that the hive would continue to watch, continue to learn, and humanity would continue to show that no matter the danger, no matter the odds, they were capable of incredible feats. And then Jace remembered something important. "You know, when we were kids, making that vow, I didn't know what I was promising." He laughed softly, a little embarrassed. "But everything we've faced since then, I realize what it really meant. It wasn't just a promise to you. It was a promise to humanity. To survive, to protect, to endure, and to never give up, no matter what the galaxy throws at us." Lyra's eyes shone with emotion. "Then it's not just your vow," she said. "It's ours. Humanity's vow. To each other, and to the future." Jace smiled, feeling a weight lift from his chest. They had survived storms, alien threats, and the unknown. They had proven that humanity's heart was as powerful as its mind, that courage, loyalty, and love, whatever form it took, could overcome challenges that seemed impossible. The drones began to move slowly, lifting higher into the rift's crystalline towers. They were not leaving, but they were no longer threatening. The hive had learned, adapted, and acknowledged humanity, and in doing so, it had unwittingly honored the human spirit. Jace and Lyra returned to the colony, exhausted but triumphant. The settlers were unaware of the deep first contact that had occurred. But that didn't matter. Humanity had made its mark. Not with weapons or aggression, but with courage, ingenuity, and heart. As they walked through the streets of the colony, people went about their daily lives. Children played. Miners repaired equipment. Scientists studied the alien flora. Life continued, but Jace and Lyra carried a secret victory with them, the knowledge that humanity had proven its worth to an intelligence far beyond anything previously encountered. At the edge of the settlement, they paused. Jace looked at Lyra, his expression softening. "You know, that vow from when we were kids," he said. "It's still alive. Stronger than ever. Not because of the words, but because we've lived them." Lyra smiled, taking his hand. "Then, it's real," she said. "It's alive. And it will stay alive." The twin moons of Aurora 7 glimmered above them, casting a soft glow on the landscape. Somewhere in the rift, the alien drones pulsed gently, a quiet acknowledgement of humanity's presence. For the first time, there was a sense of peace, not complete, but a beginning. Humanity had survived, and in doing so, had grown stronger. They had faced an alien intelligence, adapted, and triumphed. They had shown that courage, loyalty, ingenuity, and heart could overcome even the most overwhelming odds. And somewhere, in the quiet between stars and storms, a vow made long ago, in a storm, by two children had endured, not as a childish promise, but as a testament to the human spirit. Unyielding, courageous, and impossible to break. Jace squeezed Lyra's hand. "No matter what comes next," he said softly. Lyra nodded. "Always," she replied, and together, they looked toward the horizon, toward the glowing rift, and toward a future filled with challenges and possibilities. Humanity had proven itself once again. They would endure, they would survive, they would thrive, and that vow, both theirs and humanity's, was alive, shining brighter than any alien intelligence, any storm, or any danger the galaxy could throw at them. The Quill Rift pulsed gently, and for the first time, it seemed as if the universe itself recognized the indomitable spirit of humanity.